We're going to have Chris DiFonzo give us about 5 minutes of some interesting bugs that she's finding.
5 minutes. This is difficult for me. You know me. I have my watch. Okay, yes. So true armyworm has been something that we've seen starting in about March or April. You know, we've had a lot of rains. Those rain events carry armyworms and cutworms, also potato leafhoppers, from south to north. So every single one of those rain events was a potential drop over your fields. That drop is very, what's the word I want? You could have armyworms here, and you could go across the road and, you know, maybe a couple miles, and you wouldn't have gotten armyworms if the rain wasn't there or they just didn't drop there. So they're a pest that is extremely patchy. They're kind of unpredictable. But this year we did have some extension agents trapping, and we had a high at one point of 220 in a bucket for a week. And that kept going. It wasn't just a week or two. It was like a month of high numbers. So again, all those extended rains gave us time after time after time. So it gets frustrating because they could have dropped out over your field. You get some egg laying in that wheat, and you get a generation starting, and then the next couple of weeks you get another event and you get more eggs. So you have little ones and big ones. I use my pinky. I don't know what body part you're going to use in order to measure, but one of your fingers or digits. And when they get bigger than about like the 2 digits on my pinky, I know those are too big to spray. But if they're below that, they typically can be well controlled. I've had calls about I sprayed and then they didn't die, so is that resistance? Because our brain immediately goes to resistance from dealing with a lot of herbicide issues, right? But for insects, a lot of it comes down to that spray being on at the correct timing, and if the population is lollygagging, so you had some egg laying and then it got cold and then more came. You don't have a nice peak of a population to hit. You have a long extended, maybe 4 weeks of egg laying, and maybe your spray did kill the smaller ones, and then there were some new ones that came in, and it looks like resistance, but really you did your job on that first spray. What else about true armyworm? I guess right now, there's still people trying to spray armyworm. I had some in my kitchen because I'm an entomologist and we do stuff like this, and they've already pupated from the ones that I found around campus. Again, you could have some lollygaggers that are just a little bit late, but if they're getting big and you don't see head clipping, your flag leaf is mostly still there, you probably can just let it go. But once you start to get the clipping of the heads, which is like a vengeful thing that they do, then you kind of get into trouble. Martin Nagelkirk used to always say that even if the field was stripped, I'm not sure I believed him on this, but there was still enough photosynthesis in the stem to get that head finished. Do you believe that? I'm not 100% certain.
I think it depends on when that happens in the grain fill period.
Right. So he sometimes would advocate spraying later than maybe I would. But when you get the clipping of the heads, then you have to do the best job that you can to get that spray out there. The guide, which there are copies back in the building, so if you didn't get one at the wheat meeting in the winter, pick one up. I've got the pre-harvest intervals. A lot of the pre-harvest intervals are long. They're like 30 days, 21 days, and there's not many products that are less than that. What else?
And we're probably within that window now.
Right. So you know, it's something to think about for next year. Watch the Wheat Wisdom newsletter. If something were to happen, I would call Jody like I did this year, and I'd tell her about it, and then we'd have an article in there. And I also have my little Fonz Facts newsletter, and that goes into the MSUE news. So I do try to get the word out when we get these high levels, and if we get those rain events, just remember, that's carrying bad stuff up towards you, and that's when you start walking fields. It's just been a really tough spring for that. What else? Did I do 5 minutes? Oh, what do you want me to say? Are we finding any cereal leaf beetle? Yes, I mean, I've been here a long time because I'm gray-haired. And 30 years ago, if I saw a cereal leaf beetle, that was like something to celebrate. Look at historic cereal leaf beetle. Now, it's become much more common. And that probably has to do with the weather variability that was talked about at this stop and the warming climate. and they should be controlled by biological control, but that disconnect may be between those two that we haven't really looked at. And I hate to say it also, throw an insecticide in the tank if you don't need it with your fungicide application. 30 years ago, we didn't spray much fungicide. Once you get your foot in the door with a fungicide application, it's really tempting to put that $2 pyrethroid in there. And you generate your own population of cereal leaf beetles. They're lazy. They're living in your tree lines and stuff. So they're just going to come back out the next year if their biological control is not present. So on a landscape level, I think there's two things happening. We're getting more of them, and then what's the tendency? Spray them, because now I see a lot of them. Out here, I found one, and they're gross because they cover their body with a shield of, like, it's called a fecal shield. It's just gross, and there's not a lot of, there's specialty biocontrol that has to eat them through that. And once we lose that biocontrol, it's hard to get it back. So just a caution about spraying, and we're at the end, we're kind of towards the end of cereal leaf beetle too. Question, yes sir.
With all those you have in your kitchen, are you doing any research to make those into imitations?
No, I am not. I'm an entomologist, but I don't eat a lot of bugs. Makes good fish bait though. Anything else? I'm here through lunch, so I'll let the next speaker go because you can come and talk to me in private about my bug problems.